This morning, we're one-on-one with a former detective who would be mayor. Bo Dietl says he's in the race to defeat Mayor de Blasio. We'll hear his game plan. Plus, is the new Trump administration imploding amid controversial investigations and the ouster of the president's national security advisor?
This is the Emmy Award-winning 11 News Close-Up with your host, Marvin Scott.
Morning, everyone. Barely 3 months after one of history's most contentious presidential elections, New Yorkers are now holding their breath as we gear up for a local battle for City Hall. Mayor de Blasio, his first term is up this year. He's already said he's going to seek another 4 years. According to a recent Quinnipiac poll, New Yorkers are not in love with the mayor. He gets only 35% approval rating, but voters seem to like him better than other possible choices, including former City Council Speaker Christine Quinn and Controller Scott Stringer. Not mentioned in the poll are State Senator Tony Avella and former Detective Bo Dietl, who have already announced their candidacies. For almost 20 years in the NYPD, Dietl was a highly decorated detective. He now runs his own security firm. He's the author of One Tough Cop. And if his face seems a bit familiar, well, you've probably seen him in one of 20 films in which he's appeared, including Goodfellas and Wolf of Wall Street. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you, Mark.
Well, I've known you for years, and I've known you as a liberal. Why are you running as an independent?
Well, I wanted to run as a Democrat. I filed back in August, and I checked the back box for Democrat, and I also wanted to run as an independent. I checked that, too. Now, unbeknownst to me, you're not supposed to check two boxes. I was never notified by anyone. Then all of a sudden I hear in the early part of December that I checked the 2 boxes, which is wrong. But fill out an application. They're going to send you me the application. Get it notarized, and it'll be corrected. This is by the Corporation Council. I had 2 attorneys involved with this. So I filled it out. I got it notarized. I thought it was all fine. I would run as a Democrat. All of a sudden, after Christmas, after the first of the year, I get called, and they said, well, you're being knocked off the Democratic line. Duh. I didn't understand what was going on. So I've hired an attorney from Brooklyn, who was a former state senator, and we went into court in the Supreme Court. The Mayor de Blasio had 3 lawyers there, including his Corporation Counsel. We never had the opportunity to give a defense. The judge made a determination without reserving any kind of thing to look at any evidence. I never was notified that I did anything wrong. They said, well, they sent me a notification to correct it. Never happened. It was a lie, and I tried to go before Supreme Court. The judge made a determination before I left the Supreme Court. It was like a kangaroo. This is de Blasio at his best. He's totally corrupted as the mayor. We know about his campaign for One New York. Now he actually reached out, his claws and tentacles went into the judicial system, and now all of a sudden I got knocked off the line. But I'm coming. I'm coming as an independent. I met with the Conservative Party. I'm coming. I'm going to try to get as many lines as I can. There's one difference between de Blasio and Bo Dietl. I tell the truth. I don't lie. He's not a good person, and he's caught many lies.
Okay. Now, by your own admission, you're not a politician.
No.
So what qualifies you to be the mayor of New York?
What qualifies me, I did a career of over 15 years on the New York City Police Department. I was a detective. I was a homicide detective. I was in one of the original decoys where I was mugged 500 times. I was the servant in the Black and Hispanic communities of New York City. I've picked up many dead kids, including the Palm Sunday massacre was my last case. 10 Puerto Rican kids shot in the head, dead. I was part of a great task force of detectives, and I eventually was named as the arresting officer and locking up this Christopher Thomas for the mass murder of 10 Puerto Rican kids. Subsequently, for the last 32 years, I've run a security and investigating company. 98% of my employees are minorities, 98%. I know the plight of the minimum wage. I know the plight as far as with the MTA, with a ticket where they can't afford and make ends meet. I know about jobs. I know about the ACS, about kids dying in the city, being beat to death. My feelings are, I am New York. I was born here. I'm running for one reason, because I love this city, and I want to help this city get great again.
Okay, let's take some of those things you point out. You know the problems here. What would you do to alleviate those problems? Let's say the top priority in the city is homelessness.
Wow.
We have 60,000 people in shelters every night.
60,000, and then the current mayor is spending this last year over $100 million, put them into hotel rooms.
What would Bo Dietl do to alleviate?
Well, there's a lot of things in New York City. There's over 1,700 parcels in New York that are city-owned. We have over 200 schools that have to be heated. There are ways of taking the homeless situation, but you have to deal with it. You can't let what happens in Penn Station and on the streets of New York and just continue like it's not happening. He's not dealing with it. He thinks if he turns his head, where did all these homeless go when Giuliani and Bloomberg were here? There is a way of getting these people and helping them. Majority of them have mental problems and they need to be counseled and they need to be helped. By leaving them on the street is not helping. That's one. Number two, the homeless situation. We have these places around New York that are being heated up, schools that have to be heated up. We can do some primary arrangements where we can have people housed. We don't have to put them in hotels for $600 and $700 a night. That's a very important thing. And as far as the ACS goes, that's one of my real peeves. When I looked at that little boy, Zamir Perkins, who was beat to death, and they had 10 reports. It's so dysfunctional, and this mayor puts the head of this ACS, who's totally incompetent. Here is the answer to that very quickly. We have the greatest police department in the world. Great men and women have brought the crime rate down, the murder rate down. We can utilize the New York City Police Department immediately to assist ACS until we can straighten that damn thing out. We should have cops that can go there. You got a report of a child being abused. A police officer can identify if a child is being abused. A lot of these ACS workers are afraid to go into some of our housing projects and all that. We should have the police help them. And let's not have one more child that is reported being abused. One more child die in this city. It's too many.
What about economic disparity that exists in this city? I mean, the mayor talked about it in his State of the City address the other day. How would you deal with this?
Well, I mean, I'm a very big, strong advocate for the minimum wage to be risen a lot higher. And also with the supplement, as far as with the MTA, I have minorities that work for me, 98% of them, they struggle to make ends meet. We should try to help people that are working and help them try to make ends meet. Affordable housing. Look, I got all of my friends. Steve Witkoff was my partner. I know Steve Ross, Steve Roth, all these guys in New York, they're making billions of dollars. We got to bring them all to the table and say, look, you've got all these kind of tax incentives. I need to build real affordable housing in New York City, and I need your help. We don't need marble tops. We got Formica tops. We don't need to make the Taj Mahal. We need people to live in safe, clean, affordable housing. I want New York City to have the same opportunity. Every kid in New York City should have the same opportunity. I'm a high school graduate. I shed my blood on the streets of New York. I want every kid to have the same opportunity as me to be anything you want to be. And it's not all about the rich people and the poor people. It's New Yorkers and everyone in New York. We have a great mosaic of people. In my background, I did that Ancestry.com. I'm African American, 2%. I'm Italian, I'm German, I'm Indian from India, I'm Asian. I got a mixture of everything. And that's why I should be the mayor, because I have the blood of everyone in New York City.
Diversity. On that note, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with Bo Dietl. Take a look at your calendars. 9 months away, we have another election coming up, the election for mayor of New York. And former decorated New York police detective Bo Dietl is in the race. He's running as an independent against Mayor de Blasio. How do you respond to your detractors who say, Bo, you're in this for your ego?
No, it's not about my ego. I've been running a business for 32 years. I've made tens of millions of dollars. It's not my ego. It's because I love this city. You know, when I was a detective and a cop up in East Harlem, when they had gangs extorting the Puerto Rican store owners, I used to hide the back. I used to pop out of the back. Today, they would say that you can't police like that. But I straightened things out with these gangs so they wouldn't come back. And I made people feel good about themselves. The New York City Police Department, first of all, I love what they're doing. and the police department's doing it. Let's not get this wrong. Mayor de Blasio didn't do it. If anything, he's the one that blocked the New York City Police Department from doing their jobs. Every time they turn around, they got to watch over their shoulder for Inspector General this. He's the one that put that environment in New York City when they blocked the Brooklyn Bridge, when they had traffic stopped all around, and 2 cops were assassinated in New York. And I'll never forget it. And blood is on his hands, and I'll say it to his face. The environment that he put when they were able to block traffic. Look, I'm for peaceful demonstration, but you don't block traffic and you don't stop people from going to and from. Another aspect of the police department, I really believe the community policing is a great idea. But also, what we have to do is we have to give an opportunity in our inner cities, in our Caribbean neighborhoods in Brooklyn, in our Hispanic neighborhoods, in our black neighborhoods. We have to have kids that want to be cops, that maybe they can't go to college and get that 2-year degree. I want to afford an opportunity where they make a contract with the police department. Within 5 years, they go to school at night and get their degree. But let's bring them on. These kids would be great cops. They know their neighborhoods. Community policing is a great opportunity for cops out there.
Now, at the moment, crime is at a record low in New York.
Thanks to the cops, not thanks to de Blasio.
Would you bring back stop and frisk?
Well, I don't call it stop and frisk.
Stop, question, and frisk.
No, I don't even call it that. I call it community interaction. I've taken hundreds of guns off the street. There's a way of doing it and making people feel like they're respected. It's a respect that goes from the cops to the people, from the people to the cops. You have a guy, you see a bulge in the side of his pocket, you walk up to him and say, "Excuse me, sir, we had a couple of shootings. I'm going to pat you down, no disrespect. No gun." You give him your card and say, "You know, you're a gentleman to me. If I ever can help you, here's my cell phone number. Call me up." There's a way of interacting, because the biggest thing that happened in New York City, crime down, is they went after the gang members. They took 1,000 gang members plus off the streets. We found out that stopped the murders, because most of the murders were being committed by these gang members.
Now, do you have the financial backing to run a campaign?
Yes.
Now, you also were a big supporter for President Trump.
Well, big supporter. I supported Donald Trump for one reason. I know him 35 years. I was sick and tired of stuff not getting done in Washington. I know one thing about Donald Trump. The guy gets things done. I've been involved with with Mar-a-Lago. He builds beautiful things and he gets it done. He knows how to cut the fat away, and he knows how to get it done. And that's why I like Donald Trump. I wanted a change in Washington. The last 8 years, we got nothing done, and including Obama was in Washington for 8 years. And look at the murders in Chicago. He never dealt with it. I need a president that's going to be able to deal with it. Also, Donald Trump, I know New Yorkers hate him and all that kind of stuff. He got 5%. But wouldn't it be nice to get federal funding for our infrastructure, for our police, for affordable housing from the federal government? I would go to Washington and say, "Donald, we need money." He loves New York. Whether you like him or not, he could get, and we could funnel some federal funds to help New York City.
You know him, you supported him. Would you expect him to support you as a mayoral candidate?
Well, right now, I don't think it's a good idea. I want to wait for him to do some good things. By around June, July, August, I am sure the President of the United States are going to do very positive things for this country. And I think the feelings of people in New York City will start to understand what I'm trying to say. You got to work with the president for the next 4 years. And if it was Barack Obama was the president and I became the mayor, I'd go to Washington and try to work with him. But nobody loves this city more than Donald Trump, whether we like it or not. So let's get some cash out of him. And that would be something I would try to do. Get as much money from Washington to help New York people.
Do you have a problem, because you supported Donald Trump, but you've been over the years very close to Hillary Clinton?
Well, I like Hillary Clinton. I love Bill Clinton. I think Bill Clinton was one of our great presidents. And I tell you what, if Bill Clinton was running, you know, I would have a tough choice there between him and Donald, because Bill Clinton was a great president. And I respect him, and I respect Hillary. We were at the wedding of Donald Trump together. And as far as I'm concerned, this is a very simple race, Marv. I'm a New Yorker. De Blasio is not a New Yorker. He has no idea about running a business. He was on Hillary's campaign. He was a councilman, and then all of a sudden he was a public out. He's never ran a business. He doesn't know you got to balance budgets. He has this nonsense about this budget coming out. There's a big deficit in this budget, and this budget's going to go sky high. You got to balance it out. You got to cut the fat away. And I want city employees to know one thing. I don't want union heads. I don't want people being chauffeured around. I want the union members to know that I want to be your mayor. I want you to love me as your mayor because I care about all New Yorkers. I care about the kids that are being abused. I care about the homelessness. This is something that you got to react and talk what the mayor did at the Apollo Theater the other night. I wanted to get a little sick to my stomach listening to him. He's going to bring in 100 million jobs, 100,000 jobs, this and that. You know what he said? He said nothing. Okay. And he's going to do nothing for the next 4 years if he's elected.
All right, we know you have no love for Mayor de Blasio. We want to know how you're going to get New Yorkers to love you and what else you're going to do to turn this city around. Who else do you see running in this campaign?
I don't see anyone running in this campaign that can beat Bill de Blasio. You know why I can beat Bill de Blasio?
Why?
Because when we debate each other, it's going to be Bo against Bill. And then you know who's going to make the decision? People are going to say, I love Bo's honesty. I love his integrity. There's been no type of things against me. This guy's been a mayor for 3.5 years and more investigations, $4.4 million of illegal campaign funds. This guy should get cuffed by Preet. And I tell you what, I'd like to become a United States Marshal for a day and get deputized. I'd like to cuff him. Now,
are you taking somewhat of a page out of the successful campaign of Donald Trump?
No, you want to know something? Honestly, New York City's different than America. New York City is my city. I bled for New York City. I care about the kids. You want a choice of a mayor that really cares about this city? I'm 66 years old. I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. This guy's so lazy. I was at City Hall yesterday. It was 11:30. I asked the detectives, "The mayor in yet?" They laughed at me. They said, "This guy don't crawl in here until 12 o'clock. That's the mayor. You want to reelect him?" Bo Dietl will be getting up at 6 in the morning.
Now, I know you have an initiative going. You want a non-affiliation campaign.
Now, here's why I want it. You know what I want? I want to owe nothing to the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. You know what I want to be? I want to owe it to the people of New York City. I want to be the mayor of the people. I don't want to owe anything to union leaders. Get out of my office. I want to get for the union people working hard, for the people going to work every day. I want to support them. I love this city. I love every kid. And I want an opportunity for every kid in New York City to have what I had.
And Bo Dietl, you have 9 months to get that message across. You began this morning. Thank you very much for joining us. And the best of luck to you. We'll see you back here before November.
I'm sure.
And we're going to take a break. When we come back, the chaos in the White House. Is this becoming Trump's Watergate? We'll be right back. Friday marked 1 month since Donald Trump became president. Now, it's been a tumultuous, if not chaotic, roll out of the new administration. Trump quickly giving back what he promised the voters, stirring controversy and defeat in court over his immigration policy to ban Muslims from entering the U.S. Now, on top of all that, scandal brewing over contacts his staff had with Russian diplomats before he took office, prompting the boot of his national security advisor. All that and more is leading some to ask if the Trump presidency is in trouble. Joining us now with his take on all of this is political strategist Hank Sheinkopf. What do you think, Hank? Thanks for coming in.
I think we got to give the president a break, but I think it's not the most auspicious beginning. Okay, there's good news and bad news, but people who run around and say this is Watergate, that's patently absurd. I mean, absolutely absurd.
But how serious is this? I mean, there are investigations, multiple investigations underway about contacts with many of his advisors prior to him taking office.
Not the brightest move if you're going to be national security advisor to be taped or caught on some kind of device saying that everything will be fine once he gets into office and Trump is the president. I think that's pretty dumb. The Russian involvement or non-involvement in the presidential election is under investigation, so we don't know what's going to happen. The generalized chaos is partially about action and also partially about the president's own behavior. If you go to the CIA and you're standing in the hall of where all the stars of those agents who were killed in the line of duty are, and you make a comment about crowd size, agents are going to wonder what's wrong with you, and that's part of what's going on. He's also inflamed the U.S. Senate, which is not a good idea. Why? When you attack judges in this country, you're attacking Senate-approved individuals. You say so-called judges. When it came to the immigration ban, that they said so-called judges said got rid of it. Well, you can't do that. You attack the Senate again when you get involved in foreign policy controversy. Foreign policy is under the purview of the U.S. Senate. So, and that's a place that has a particular culture. Now they're going to have to defend that culture. Not so good for the president.
Now, also, he's alienated a lot of his own party, the Republicans in the Senate.
The Senate are going to try. The senators, Republican or not, are going to try to protect that institution. That's what's happened in the past. But he's not the first president in a while to be investigated. We've had
But
presidents.
this early in his presidency?
It's not good news for this to be going on this early. The question is, does it take him away from whatever we think he's going to do? And what we think he's going to do is very unclear.
Now, in this investigation and with his advisors talking to the Russian intelligence community, the question here would be is what did Trump know and when did he know it?
And importantly, who lied to what federal investigator? Now, this has been going on for some time. Lying to an FBI agent is a crime. What are the crimes? You know, people are screaming in New York City because they're so Democrat and so left. Well, it's Watergate and well, he'll be impeached. No, you can only be impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors. There's nothing to indicate that the President of the United States, Donald Trump, committed a crime here. So let's get that off the table. What is apparent is that there is chaos, that people in the administration are conducting themselves in a way that we're not used to, and they're kind of attacking each other on the inside, which means less is going to get done.
Now, he fired his national security advisor, Mike Flynn. That
was wise.
But then he turns around and he praises him, and he really blames his demise on the media, the fake media, as he calls it, and also the intelligence community for leaks.
There is no question, probably, that the media did what it was supposed to do, and that the intelligence community did what it was supposed to do. What Donald Trump is doing is traditional populist kind of rhetoric, defining himself as the state, which all populists do, and trying to create the impression among his supporters that those who attack him or his administration are, in fact, attacking the state itself. Who was the first good shot to take? Against the news media. What will ultimately happen is that the news media will become stronger out of this, not weaker.
Now, it's like simply one thing after another each day. I mean, his labor secretary, he had difficulty getting confirmation.
That was a dumb choice, by the way.
Right. He had lots of problems, and he backed out.
Right.
He also has a problem with Kellyanne Conway coming out, and now she's under investigation, and they want action
to be
against
fair
her.
to her, she should be given her moment in the sun, which she deserves. There is an ethics question with her. Certainly, she should be not fired, but something which she ought to be admonished in a significant fashion for promoting the clothesline, the private businesses of someone in that family. That's not right.
And also,
there's regulations against that, by the way.
And there are questions, too, whether he's going to be replacing his press secretary, Sean Spicer.
Sean Spicer is, as someone who's dealt with a lot of reporters over the years, you just don't do the things he's doing and expect that you can get something done. It just doesn't work that way.
Senator John McCain, he's characterized it. He says there's dysfunction in the West Wing. Well,
he's not an innocent bystander. He's been certainly critical of the president. The president was during the campaign, very, very nasty about John McCain's war record, which was kind of dumb, truthfully. But again, if you look at the Senate, that's the place where the action is going on. That's an institution that has a particular culture, and that culture is being violated by this president. Best move, back off, figure out how you're going to repair some of these things. These confirmation hearings have overall not gone tremendously well. Tillerson, confirmed, disappeared. He's taking his best advice, I'm told, from Jim Baker, the former Secretary of State, no friend of the State of Israel, for those who care about that. Then these nominees, Betsy DeVos, the Education Secretary, doesn't know anything about education. She had to get there because the Vice President broke the tie.
Now, the travel ban, that was a big defeat for him, and he didn't go to the Supreme Court because he knows it's a divided court. If there was a split decision, then the lower court ruling holds. What happens once he's now going to come up with another executive order to deal with his travel ban?
Let him do whatever he wants. The courts are going to intervene again. Why? Because they can, and because now they've been challenged by the president. Don't challenge someone who has nothing to lose.
All right, where does he go now? Yesterday, he met this week with Prime Minister Netanyahu. Mm-hmm. He says he'll go for a one-state policy or a two-state policy.
Well, very confusing. For those who support the two-state solution, they're unhappy. For those who say there ought to be a one-state solution, they're unhappy. Everybody's unhappy. The big part, most important part, he says, we'll make a deal. This administration is about making deals, but let's get the first deal done. Someplace.
Okay, you're a strategist. That's been your profession for years, and you've worked with many politicians.
Sure.
If you were in the Oval Office and President Trump said, Hank, how do I get back on track? What guidance would you have?
Slow the action down, figure out how to roll out policies in a way that makes sense, that have press behind them, come up with something that is non-controversial, in other words, that everybody will agree on. Infrastructure repair, getting people to work, real. Talk about how you're going to fund it. Look presidential. This is not a New York dinner party and not a place for carrying on. And don't leave sensitive documents in Mar-a-Lago on tables with the head of a foreign government there and people wandering around, because this is non-presidential. In other words, add majesty back to the job.
You expect he's going to serve out his term?
I do. Why not?
Hank Sheinkopf, always a pleasure. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
joining us. That'll do it for our program this week. If you have any comments or wish to see this broadcast again, log on to our website, pix11.com/newscloseup. I'm Marvin Scott. Thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, everyone.